We're recording.
You're recording. Let me just join the go-to meeting real quick.
No, you don't have to. Just Governor said you don't have to show it.
All right, we are recording. I always feel like I'm scolding children.
You are.
Like an ant. Okay, we're ready to go.
This conference will now be recorded.
I guess I don't need this. No one's wearing it. Good evening. Welcome to the June 9th, 2020 regular meeting of the Emerson governing body. This meeting is being held via teleconference due to the COVID-19 virus outbreak. This meeting is being videotaped and may be viewed from a link on the Borough website, as well as on Verizon Fios Channel 36 and Cablevision Channel 77. Please turn off your cell phone ringtones, and if you are a member of the public joining us electronically, please mute your telephone until the public comment portion of the meeting begins. Councilman Bailey, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please take a moment of silence for Ann Cadamatori and Barbara Farino, as well as for any other Emerson residents who have passed away. Thank you. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law and adequately noticed pursuant to NJSA 10-4-10. Notice of this meeting of June 9th, 2020 was sent to the Record and Richwood News on December 19th, 2019, and notice to said newspapers, posted at the entrances to the Borough Hall on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. I just want to remind anyone who has their video on GoToMeeting that everything you're doing in your home is going to be recorded and become a public record. So if you're in your home and I can see you, everyone else will be able to see you if this is ever published. I just wanted to make you aware of that. Did you hear that message, Margaret?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I just wanted to make you...
Everything will be...
I just wanted to make you clear, because I see you moving around, and everyone else can see that too, and it'll be recorded.
Yeah, I needed to get something to make notes.
Okay, good. All right, can you mute now until the public portion, please?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Dice, please call the roll call of the governing body.
Mayor DePello.
Present.
Councilwoman Argenzia.
Present.
Councilman Daly.
Here.
Councilwoman Ganala. Councilman Gordon.
Here.
Council President Hoffman.
Present.
Councilwoman McGuire.
Present.
Also present are Borough Administrator Robert Hermanson, Deputy Clerk Colleen Goodell via teleconference, and Borough Attorney John McCann.
Thank you, Ms. Dice. Next item on the agenda is excused absence of governing body member, absence of Councilman Bailey from the regular meeting of May 19th, 2020, and the special meeting of May 29th, 2020, as well as the absence of Councilwoman Argenzia from the special meeting of May 29th, 2020. May I have a motion to excuse the absence of both of those council members? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Do I have to do it individually? I don't think so either. Okay, proclamations and citations. June is Pride Month, and I have a proclamation. I will read it. Whereas the former Stonewall Inn in New York City, a public establishment frequented by members of the gay community, was the site of the June 27, 1969 uprising that sparked the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender civil rights movement, and whereas in 1993, New Jersey became the 5th state in the United States to ban discrimination based on sexual orientation, and whereas on December 21st, 2006, Governor John Corzine signed legislation granting gay couples statutory rights of married couples, making New Jersey the 3rd state to do so. And whereas in 2007, New Jersey became the 9th state in the Union to ban discrimination based on gender identity and expression. And whereas on October 21st, 2013, New Jersey became the 14th state to allow same-sex marriage and the first to do so in the wake of the landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision that struck down the Defense of Marriage Act. And whereas the borough of Emerson fosters the value and importance of diversity among its citizens and its employees, acknowledging that they cut across ethnic, cultural, racial, gender identity. I'm sorry. Two people are staring at me and I don't know how to make it stop. I don't know. I'm going to start that paragraph, and please excuse me, it has nothing to do with what I'm reading. It was technical in nature. Whereas the borough of Emerson fosters the value and importance of diversity among its citizens and employees, acknowledging that they cut across ethnic, cultural, racial, gender identity, and sexual orientation boundaries. And whereas the borough of Emerson celebrates and recognizes the many accomplishments and contributions of its citizens and employees who identify themselves as members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LGBT community, now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Danielle DePaola, Mayor of Emerson, New Jersey, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2020 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month in the Borough of Emerson. This is the proclamation. It will be hanging in Borough Hall, which soon we will be welcoming people back into the building, so you will be able to read it close up if you would like. I would also would like everyone to know that the Pride flag on June 1st is being displayed at our welcome sign, showing that we are a welcoming community, right at the welcome sign in Emerson. And if you hadn't noticed the other night during the prayer for peace, we have a light system that is now lighting up Borough Hall in rainbow colors. In honor of Pride Month as well. So, moving on from that, we will go to appointments and resignations. There are no appointments or resignations this evening. The next order of business is minutes for approval, regular meeting minutes of May 19th. The Borough Clerk has not received any requests to amend the regular meeting minutes of May 19th, 2020. May I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 19th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Special meeting minutes of May 29th, 2020. The Borough Clerk has not received any requests to amend the special meeting minutes of May 29th, 2020. May I have a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of May 29th, 2020?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Financial business,
Just on the record, correct that. I abstained on both.
because you weren't at either meeting. John?
Yes.
Yes.
I told Shane that you were-
Yes. Sorry.
It's okay.
So you'll mark the record that Councilman Bailey abstained. Thank you.
And I guess then me for the special meeting.
And Councilwoman Argenzi for the meeting that she missed, the special meeting. Okay. Financial business. There is no financial business this evening. The next order of business is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business this evening, but we do have a lot of new business. The first item being changing the start time of the June 23rd council meeting. And it says on your agenda from 5 to 7:30, but I'm going to make a different recommendation. So a member of the senior class's parents has reached out to me, and they would like us as a community to have a parade for the graduating seniors. They also would like us to do a proclamation because of everything that they've been through. Luckily, it looks like they are going to have a graduation, but delayed. So we want to celebrate our seniors as much as we can. So we initially had the meeting set for 5 p.m. because we were trying to do something a little bit different and make ourselves more accessible to maybe some of our seniors that don't drive at night. And at this point, I think because we might do something for the meeting on June 23rd for our seniors, that if we start the meeting a little bit earlier than 7:30, we can go through a program with our seniors, giving them all proclamations, and then start actually start the business of the meeting at 7:30. Borough Administrator Hermanson?
The point that we were, Gene and I were talking earlier also on this one, so we know that that's what you were talking about doing, and this came up, which is a great idea. The only problem we have is that in order to tape the actual meeting, because we're taping inside and using this, what we might do is instead of starting the actual meeting, is just tell people that we're going to do something at, say, 6:45 down on the front lawn and use the go-to meeting, so we can use that as a recording and record it through go-to. This way we don't have to worry about the PA system or how we're recording an actual meeting here. And then when we retire off what we're doing on the front lawn, come up and actually start the real meeting here in the building, so that we don't have to worry about the recording system of how to record the actual meeting. So it's not that we don't want to put it as a meeting, it's partly do, but it just might be very difficult in order to get it to record it, to do the actual meeting downstairs, knowing that we were doing the recording.
My actual plan, what I was thinking about when this came about this afternoon, was that we can have the 90 graduates come through and accept their proclamations, and then once we are done giving them the proclamation, we would take a 10-minute break and then go downstairs and take a photograph on the front steps, and then they can leave from the front steps, instead of doing everything outside. And that way, it's on tape and it's on television for everyone in town to see. If we do it outside, it won't be on our video.
Well, it would be if you put through go-to.
Yeah, but we don't put the go-to on the television.
Like I said, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work.
But I'm going to suggest that we start the meeting instead of at 5 and instead of at 7:30, at 6:45, which would allow us at least 45 minutes, however we do it inside or outside and however we work it out, the mechanics of it. That'll afford us 45 minutes to celebrate the graduating seniors. Is everyone okay with that?
What's the capacity of the room?
On June 23rd, what's the capacity that day?
Right now, what they're telling us is that we have 100 that we're allowed, for outdoor and indoor. But as they're going forward, right now we're at a capacity of 50 indoor, or 25% of the maximum capacity of the room, whichever is less. Maximum capacity, and you have to maintain social distance still, or have a mask. So if you have the 100, if you do the social distancing here, or we would, in the room, I don't know if we could fit social distancing of 120. So we would have to try to we have to get creative, and that's the reason.
Well, we could work that out. What I was thinking was they weren't all coming into the building at once. They would come in groups of 10, and then as 10 came in, 10 would go out, and we would never go over the quota set by the governor. And who knows, by the time the 23rd rolls around, we may have a new recommendation by the governor again, because it seems to be changing by the minute, not even by the day. I mean, we were on a conference call today, not to digress, but there's a lot of new information coming out. Some of it will go over. If I forget something, Rob will chime in, or John if he reviewed it. But everything is just changing constantly, and it's very difficult to hang up with, to keep going with it and grasp on everything. And the most important thing I think that they haven't really given is they're saying everything can open, but everyone who's getting information that they can open doesn't necessarily have the guidelines that they have to, the parameters that they're allowed to open under. So they can't even get ready to start opening. They just have this date hanging in the air. So that is something that I mentioned on the call. So do we need to take a vote, Jane, in order to change that time, or just an all in favor?
Mayor, I was just going to make a suggestion. 6:45 is kind of an odd time to remember. Do you think 6:30 would make it easier to remember?
The 6:45, at what time?
6:30.
Well, I was thinking that cut to the dinner hour, and I think the 6:45 would just be for the graduating seniors to come here, and it would be for us.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's-
Yes.
So I think that works, because we can't really break the quota, or the,
Well, what the governor's office told us today is that everything that's going on that has to do with COVID and the amount of people who are in your building or wherever is to be enforced by your local enforcement. So it's done by us, that's enforcement.
right.
So, I think that, and they told us, and they, about 100 times, they said, take that for what it means. So basically, control yourself, that's just gonna be your.
So we're not gonna look to
Yeah.
break anything, we're just gonna be creative about getting it done the right way,
Exactly.
okay? All right, so the next item on the agenda is discussion of the sale of the town and country property.
Sorry,
And I
did you have to
think-
take a vote on that?
Take the vote.
Oh, we didn't take the vote. Can I have a motion to, change the meeting from 5 PM to 6:45?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item is town and country property, being sold.
Basically, I can address this pretty quickly, that we received some information about the sale of town and country property. I do believe that what we should do is sign for closed session for the next meeting, to discuss that, to go in and to the options and where we are, and then based off that, we go forward. But I don't think that we should be discussing that.
Because real estate transactions are
And
considered,
how we would negotiate.
right, John?
Is that correct, John?
Yeah. All right.
Oh, sorry.
The next item is recreation tennis fees ordinance for introduction. Is that your item?
So, great thing happened here. I think, I'll even let Councilwoman McGuire, if she would like to, chime in on this because of, she was sitting in with a meeting, on the rec committee. But one of our, rec commissioners, has offered to start a tennis program. He reached out to us also, and knowing that we have to, in order to have the program, we have to have fees, in order to establish part of that. He recommended that we don't really need, a real large, application fee for this, because there's not a lot of equipment, things, most of it, is supplied by the people who are already playing tennis. Therefore, he just wanted to have something to put in here so we can put on the agenda and have this accepted. And we are very excited to be offering the program, to our youth. And,
It's not just youth,
Jill will
Right,
add some
yeah.
to it.
It's also going, they have, seniors who are interested, and also, on their, they have already a board that's being created, and they do have some senior members, I believe. The rec commission did create a tennis program. They voted to create it unanimously at the last meeting, and they're really excited about it, as are we, because it will be open to all ages, and I think it's going to be very successful, so looking
And
forward
while
to
we're
it.
on the tennis courts, I did speak with Phil Nisanoff today. There are 5 courts down there, I believe. Two of the courts are open, and they're being managed by our rec department right now, for Emerson residents. The other 3 courts are locked up for right now, but they will be opening after June 18th, I believe on the 19th, he said. For right now, they're holding the red cups for the motivational words for our graduating seniors, and they don't want the balls to knock the cups out until after they've had their fun with that. So there's 2 tennis courts open right now. So if you would like to play tennis, those are open. You just have to go down. I guess they have a sign-up sheet or something down there. I don't really know how they're doing it. But if you go down to the tennis courts, I'm sure there's information down there. And then the remaining courts will open in a couple of weeks. Anyone else on tennis? Okay.
And we're very excited though.
I'm excited too, I may even take tennis. Okay, the next item on the agenda is amend fees for certificate of occupancy ordinance for introduction, Mr. Hermanson.
So basically, as we were going through our ordinances, we've noticed that there were some updates on the pricing that has to be put into effect for our building department. So they asked us to go through review and to actually, from the recommendations that the building department had made prior, we need to update and meet them with the new pricing. So basically what we're seeing is we're going to put this in so we can actually amend the fees to what is the recommendations that we're seeing from the building department. So we'll be on for first reading.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
Okay. The next item is Governor's Executive Order regarding outdoor dining. So that's just very simple. June 15th, outdoor dining is opening. We've been in touch with the Emerson Hotel, which I believe is the only establishment in town with a serving liquor license, right, Jane? To serve? Oh, and the golf club as well.
Right.
They have not reached out to us, but the Emerson Hotel has. I asked them to reserve a table for 8 on 7 o'clock on June 15th, so if any of you want to join me down there, I'm going to help them open up. Basically, to get serious, our ordinance allows for outdoor dining. So any of our food establishments, if they want to put tables outside, they're permitted to do so. It's in our zoning. But we do ask them to maybe do a dry run sooner rather than later, so that if there's anything that the borough finds problematic in terms of safety, that we get it corrected so they don't miss a beat in terms of revenue. So I did speak with the Emerson Hotel because they reached out to me. None of the other businesses have reached out so far, but we're guiding them in order to encourage them to do as much business as possible in order to make up for all of the lost time during the pandemic.
And the golf course already has a patio and is in a situation there that they kind of do that or have been already doing it. So it's not something new to them. So this is kind of, they'll be just business as usual pretty much
Right.
for them. So,
Jen, when you say the golf, you mean Hackensack?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, and that's members only, so that doesn't really...
But the other golf course,
I don't know that they have the liquor license right now.
It was a 6-month process. I don't know if they have it yet, but it's a county.
They're probably working on it, but Jane is the guru on ABC, so she would know the best, I think. Anything else? Okay. The next item, proper stewardship of Emerson Woods Preserve regarding off-trail destruction. Ken?
Yes.
Council President?
So, once again, we have seen more trail destruction in Emerson Woods. I did send everyone out a memo. I'm sorry it was a little long, but I wanted to, especially for the members who weren't here last year, to get an idea of the background of what's occurred. So I found out recently, and I did go over there fairly recently to take a look, and in addition to the trail that was there already, that goes from our property, from that main access road into Suez property, there's another trail just to the south that's very recent, because I was there over the winter time. It was not there, so it's very recent. Large trail. They've done the same thing where they destroyed vegetation. They line it with old logs. They put logs over this ditch, the ditch that runs between the swamp and the vernal pond. That's wetland, so it's probably a wetland violation. So they can get over the ditch. And then to just recap what happened last year, we were hoping that things were going to be resolved when Suez put up some cameras, and the police department was involved. Our borough attorney had said that they need to put up no trespassing signs in order to enforce. So that's exactly what Suez did. And in a short period of time, the signs were vandalized, removed, taken down, and I believe some of the cameras were vandalized. So much for trying to enforce it. So I've been in touch with other people. One person that's been in touch with me, and he's not called me back yet. He had asked me to get in touch with him. I called him. He has not returned the call. It's Adam Strobel. Rob might know Adam, possibly. Adam's been involved with open space in Bergen County for a long time. Right now he's with the Parks Department. I'm not sure what his title is. But nonetheless, as you're aware from my memo, there is a deed restriction from the county, and it's a pretty strict deed restriction. And it gives them some oversight. It also gives them the ability to request that any damage that has occurred be restored. I know that Maud Snyder, I believe, Jane Snyder, is that her name, from the Green Acres program? You remember that name? Okay. She is aware of what's going on, and Bill Sheehan, who is on the Meadowlands Conservation Trust, which also has a deed restriction on the property, is also well aware and is very interested in doing something to get this all stopped. I did list some suggestions in the memo. I had talked a little bit with the mayor prior to the meeting. We talked about putting a couple of signs on our property. My only concern about that is that they would get vandalized again. So that's something to consider. We could get the Environmental Commission involved. They are the stewards of the property. I am waiting for, they're supposed to give an annual report, and last year at their November meeting, I reminded them that they're supposed to give a report as of December 1st of each year, which gives the conditions of the property. They were going to give it to us at the beginning of this year, and we've yet to receive anything. So I'm not sure how much they want to get involved, but that is kind of their area to get involved with. So at this point, I'm not sure what to do, but we can't just let the woods, which cost a lot of money, took a lot of work for people to get preserved, to just become vegetatively, as a result of people misusing it and violating the ordinances. So I'm open to any suggestions from members of the governing body as what we might do. One other thing, I thought we could also make a strong statement somewhere on our website.
This is more adults coming than children.
It is adults. It is, originally we thought maybe it was children. And then one of the members of the Environmental Commission discovered last year a website devoted to the use. It's a large website. It's for places all over the place. But it did have a few pages with the Emerson Woods property. It has maps on it. It has profiles of people, allegedly. These are profiles of people who use it. We never realized how much use there was. It's almost certainly adults, because if you saw the bridges that they make further in on the Suez property, there's no way kids could be doing all this kind of stuff. There might be some kids using it, but it's predominantly adults. So to that extent, there's no excuse. If we can, yes, absolutely. Well, there's a fine. There's several violations in our ordinance. One is the use of bicycles. The other is off-trail destruction of trees, vegetation, etc. And then Suez has its own, they put up their no trespassing signs. They don't want their property used that way. The Watershed Review Board, which oversees them, has some oversight on that as well. So it's a violation of our ordinances, and it's a trespassing upon their property and a vandalism of their property.
Aside from putting fences around the whole thing.
Well, yes. Well, unfortunately, what happened was we had a meeting last year. I was asked to attend. I did not organize the meeting, but I was asked to attend by Ray Sawinski, who's with Suez. And they brought up the idea of fencing the property, which they've talked about for years, originally because of the dog walkers. So I tried to encourage them not to do that because it just didn't make sense, and they ended up doing it. And what has actually happened is, because they haven't fenced the whole property, there's now even more usage of those trails, because that's the only way you can get into their property. Now, you can't go down near the fishing gate and take one of those main access roads if you want to go through there. You have to go through one of these bike trails. So it had the unintended effect of making it worse.
Ken, do you think it would be beneficial to have a meeting with all the interested parties, so that, like a think tank session, as far as what productive solutions can, be made?
Yes, I would like to have, if possible, someone from the county come, because they do have the deed restriction. At the very least, you could have someone from the Environmental Commission. You may want to include Suez, even though we're kind of talking about our properties. They're connected. Even the Shade Tree Commission, which has oversight on the trees. And what's being done by damaging root system, you're damaging trees. So the Shade Tree Commission is somewhat involved with it too, as well as the
Right.
police force, of course. So, yeah, I think if we can get all the entities involved together, that would be a good idea.
Good start, right?
So I can just tell you something that I've heard in other counties that have worked and, other things and other problems that they had. There was a huge issue down in South Jersey also about ATVs were going through. One of the things that the county did decide to do down in South Jersey was to donate property strictly for ATV use only, so that instead of going in and damaging every place, they have them for people to come in and they maintain their own trails within it. It has changed everything, and they've raved about it now. Since down there, they also talked about using it for bikes. One of the things that I think that might be a solution, and talk to the county about, is to see if there is a place where people can go and say, look, this is where it's going to be, this is where it's going to take place. Obviously, they're traveling from Emerson, from all over Bergen County.
Beyond Bergen County. Right.
So it's not just that, it's not just the Emerson residents that anyone's having an issue with. This is a Bergen County problem. This is not a Emerson problem. So one of the ways to solve some of that problem is if maybe we could find an area to do something to allow people to do what they want to do, but do it legally, and put it in a place where we can maintain it.
That sounds like a good fix. Rob, why don't you get together with council president and set up a meeting, and you guys could have a meeting and then report back to the governing body.
I would do that.
Awesome. All right, the next item on the agenda is introduction of ordinances. Ms. Diche, please announce by number and title the following ordinances. Upon approval, these ordinances will be further considered at a public hearing to be held on June 23rd, 2020 at 7:30 p.m., either in the council chambers of the Borough Hall, Municipal Place, or by teleconference and published in the record. All ordinances are on the Borough website and on file in the office of the Municipal Clerk in the Borough of Emerson, Municipal Place, Emerson, New Jersey. Should you need a hard copy, please call Borough Hall, and one will be mailed to you free of charge. Ms. Diche, please read the title of the first ordinance.
1613-20, an ordinance amending Chapter 61-10, entitled Parks, Playgrounds, and Recreation, fee schedule of the Borough of Emerson, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, establishing fees for participation in recreational activities.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 161320 on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Denola? Yes. Council President Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
Councilwoman Argenti?
Yes.
Passes Mayor 6-0.
Ms. Diche, would you please read the title of the second ordinance?
1614-20, an ordinance to amend Chapter 128, Certificates of Occupancy, Section 1.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 1643-20 on first reading?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please? Rob, isn't that about...
As we just talked about, it's the same things that the building department had made recommendations on some changes of some fees to be more consistent with what's going on in surrounding towns and in the county. So basically, they came in and made the adjustments on what they would like to see on pricing, and they've asked us to put it through for the ordinance.
So, do we have a motion on that? And a second? We need a roll call, please.
Councilman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Denola? Council President Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
Councilwoman Argenti?
Yes.
Passes Mayor 6-0.
Thank you, Ms. Diche. The second item on the agenda, next item is second reading and public hearing of ordinances. There are no ordinances being adopted this evening, so the next order on the agenda is reports. I'll go first, and then if I forget anything,
We can tag, right?
you can
Exactly.
jump on.
There's plenty
Okay.
to go back and
First of all, I need to apologize for laughing during this meeting. I am so sorry. We had some technical difficulty. We started the meeting late. I did not have time to fix my GoToMeeting app, and I had people looking at me, which I have not had during any of this teleconferencing, and I could not concentrate. My heartfelt apologies. I meant no disrespect to the proclamation, to anyone in the room or anyone watching. It was just a little bit of nerves on my part, I would say, and I apologize. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the prayer for peace that we had. I think it was lovely, and I'm really happy that we did it. I think that everybody that joined us that evening was quite pleased that we did it. Got a lot of compliments from people, text messages, phone calls. So thank you for everyone who came and participated in the vigil for unity and peace. We have a new business starting again. Cork and Keg has moved to their new place, and we want to wish them luck in their new space. Birthday drive-bys are still going on, so if you have a birthday and you would like Emerson's Finest, as well as the Bravest and our EVAC and anyone else to join in, please contact Rob Hermanson, and he will set that up for you. As usual, if you know of anybody that is in need, please contact Borough Hall or one of your religious leaders, and they will get in touch with us. And we still have, or the Board of Ed, we still have some gift cards and funds that are available to people that may be in need. Please don't be embarrassed. We're here to help. And everything has been generously donated by residents of the community. The stay-at-home order has been lifted by the governor. So you are free to move around as you please, starting today. Outdoor gatherings have been increased to 100. On June 22nd, it will be 250. And on July 6th, it will be 500, which allows for graduation after July 6th, is it, or 7th?
Yes, the 6th.
Okay. And I did have a quick conversation with our
They did talk about
Phil
fireworks.
Nisanoff, sorry?
And they did talk about fireworks because...
Yeah, they
as
did
most
talk about
towns-
fireworks. We usually do it at our town picnic, but there is going to be a virtual graduation on the 18th, and the live graduation from high school will be on July 8th. That was my notes. Golf returns to normal today. And we are waiting, like I said, on further direction. Everyone will be able to get their hair and nails done starting on June 22nd. Waxing.
I already got my appointment booked at 7 a.m.
I'm okay with my hair getting long. That's the one thing that didn't bother me. Okay, waxing and massage and other personal services are still sort of on hold, but the hair and the nails are ready for June 22nd. Our building for our June 23rd meeting will be open to the public, correct?
Yes.
We have to put some protective parameters in place because we want to make sure that no one is sick if they're going to enter the building. We have to figure out how we're going to do the social distancing as well as meet the limit on allowing people into the building. But we are hopeful. I think we are going to continue the go-to meeting anyway in case anybody is uncomfortable and does not want to come in. As long as we can figure out to get the video off, I think it'll be seamless, and we'll just continue to do it. I think it's a great way for right now because, as you know, we film the meetings and then we put them on the next day, but go-to meeting has been an interesting tool during this, and I think it's something that we can continue to use in order to allow people access to us, and you know we're all about transparency, so I think we're going to continue with the go-to meetings even though we're going to go back to the live meetings. So if you ever want to join us during the meeting and you can't come into the building for whatever reason, we'll always, I think going forward, we'll provide the go-to meeting link or whatever other link is necessary in order to join us.
That's a great idea, Mayor.
Sorry?
I said, Mayor, I think that's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Well, I mean, because there's a lot of people that would like to attend, but if they have other responsibilities that they can't get out of the house, then...
Right. They could be home with their children and put them to bed and then still jump on the meeting or something. So, yeah, I think that works out well. Is there anything that I missed? Or do you want to jump on and
I got a few
fill
things.
it in?
So,
Okay.
first, firehouse floor is out to bid. I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank our fire department. I want to thank Jim Bailey and this council for pushing this. This has been a product of love from everybody here, not just one person. It really has been trying to get this done. The bid is out. We'll open the bids next Friday, right, on the front lawn, 10 a.m.
On the front lawn?
That's what I believe. Yes, right, Jane, right, I'm in the front lawn?
Let's hope it's good weather.
Yep. So, hopefully we'll get a lot of bids, and that'll be great, and we'll go from there. And we'll keep our fingers crossed of how that, turns out. But we're looking forward to getting that, up and moving, which would be great. I met with, my mayor and myself met with PSC&G over our road program, of going forward, of some things that we would like to see changed, and have an opportunity to work together directly with PSC&G, to see if we can figure out a better way for some dollars and save some dollars together, and to put things to work.
And I need to interject. PSC&G, when they start up again, if there's a problem at your house, if there's a problem in the street, if there's any problem with PSC&G, call Rob Hermanson, our borough administrator, and speak to him. Putting it on Facebook does not get anything fixed.
Or if there's a problem in your street with a sewer line or something, call the police first. Let them know, because there is a process that PSC&G knows about. And we know
After hours.
After hours, exactly, that we know. Make sure you call them, because it's 95% of the time, it just so happens that these lines break on Saturday, okay? And so this is just the way it's working. So we want you to call the police, because there is a policy that's in place. They know how to work it along with our DPW, along with PSC&G.
And then they'll
Promise
determine...
you, it will get done much quicker that way than if you go a different route.
I'm just going to summarize that again real quick.
Yes,
So that people
go ahead.
understand, and so that the council understands. So there have been a number of sewer breaks in a neighborhood of town, and most people immediately call their plumber. We would prefer if they call the police first, and then they will call out the DPW, so that when they dig the hole, someone from the borough is there in order to represent the borough as well as the homeowner when they're determining whether it is the responsibility of the homeowner or whether it is the responsibility of the borough. So if you open up that hole, if you have a sewer break and someone from the borough is not there, we don't have the evidence to know how it occurred. So if it happens on the weekend, or if it happens late at night and you have a sewer backup, please call the police, and they know the proper procedure in order to call in someone from the DPW.
Which I'm going...
Don't they have an insurance policy that they not insurance from PSC&G as well?
I don't know.
Because they do that for the water.
The borough attorney is suggesting that there may be a policy that could be purchased through PSC&G in case something like that happens. There is. So that might be something that residents may
Gas
want to
line
look
protection.
into.
Gas line protection.
Correct.
I can't hear you. Can you give them a mic?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's the water company that I deal with. They can do hot water heaters, all sorts of things, and it's like $8 a month for this. And I save probably $8,000 with that policy.
Okay. So Councilman Bailey suggests the policy from PSC&G. They have a lot, right? Suez. Does PS have something also?
That's what I'm asking. I believe they do.
I think they do. I do get letters in the mail asking about the gas
Worry-free.
protection, right. Because if there's...
Everybody look into PSC&G and Suez to see if they have any programs that will save you money in the end. Is that a good plug for them?
It's not even a plug, but I think it's important because the infrastructure is on these lines are...
Can you talk in the mic?
I don't think it's a plug. I think it's a recognition that the infrastructure on some of these lines, as we know from some of the other towns, not just in Bergen, but throughout the state, are having problems.
That's why they're changing the lines, too.
Right.
Exactly,
So-
but I understand that, but as, I don't want to tell people to do it,
No
we're
one's
just
plugging
suggesting that they do it.
That they could look into it. No one's saying to buy it, just
It's an
look
option.
into it.
Now, there may be something else you want to bring up, Mayor, while you're talking about that, on who to contact, when to contact on things, because you did put a swift reach call out. Would you like to bring that up?
Regarding,
About people when they're calling in with a complaint or a situation or a certain, like speeding and things like that, of who they would contact instead?
so, once again, the phone lines we're in the middle of turning over our phone lines, as everybody knows. So if you need to call Borough Hall, do not, in this instance, for a couple of more weeks, do not call the direct number. Do not call the direct number for the DPW. Do not call the direct number for the administrator. Do not call the direct number for finance or construction. You must call 201-262-6086 and then hit either number 1 through 9 for the department that the recording gives you all of the numbers, and that is how you would get through to the department while we're going through the transition. I saw on Facebook that there was a number of grass misses, and people said that they had called the DPW and that the phone rang and rang and rang. We were unaware of this problem until yesterday afternoon, so now we're recommending that you call the main number and then go through the prompting system that is on the recording when you call. And if you have any other issues, if you have a noise complaint, if you have a garbage complaint, we do ask that you call those departments directly, especially when it comes to the police. I have seen a lot of complaints about speeding on Facebook, and I also get a lot of complaints about speeding. So I've spoken with the chief of police regarding this, and the appropriate department to call if someone is speeding in your neighborhood is to call the police desk at 262-2800. I've seen comments on Facebook that you don't want to bother the police. That is what the police are there for. So you are never bothering the police. Please call them. If someone is speeding in your neighborhood, the chief has explained to me that it will only help the speeding in your neighborhoods because then they will be able to find out where the hot zones are. I think that there are certain pockets in town, like we've identified where the stop signs went on Palisade, that if you go through the proper channels, that all of that information will be culled and the police will know how to properly enforce. So just putting it on Facebook doesn't help anybody. If you really want to help your neighbors and potentially save a life, please call the police and make a report.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Also, just from a practical matter, the quickest way to resolve the problem, if there's a particular life-threatening situation, where there's speeding or anything that's going on in an illegal matter, the police are the people to call, not the mayor, not the councilman or the councilwomen. There's going to be a delay when you do that. It's also, there's some issues depending upon what the crime would be or the violation would be, or whether or not it's proper for any of the council people or the mayor to get involved in some of the complaints. So if you're a member of the public and you're listening to this, please, anything that's related to violations of law and public safety, all those issues should be raised and the police should be notified. You will receive quicker action and more efficient action than going through. Listen, the elected officials here are wonderful people, and they all have friends, and their friends want to tell them, I saw this or I saw that. But if it's significant, even from a mayor and council perspective, you should recommend to your friends, call the police. I wouldn't recommend you getting involved in those issues for a lot of reasons, but just in terms of public safety, it's quicker and more efficient to do it that way.
I'm just going to add, after the mayor gets the phone call, she's going to call the police anyhow. And if I get the phone call, I'm going to call the police. And if Mr. Hoffman or Ms. Argenzia, anyone else here gets the phone call, that's who they're calling next anyhow. So save yourself some time, go direct to the source. It makes it much easier, and you have a better opportunity of having it fixed and remedied sooner than by going to someone else and then having it to route there anyhow. So that was one of the things that it was offered to us to let us know, to remind that. It's what the mayor did put that on the Swift Reach, so I wanted just to think that was a good opportunity to bring it up to at the same time.
Thank you for reminding me to talk about that.
We are going to try to reopen our building here. We are going to reopen the building, but we're going to do a soft open first, which would mean that it would be done by appointment only, to come into to finance and to the clerk's office and so forth and so on. But we're going to make sure that whatever is done, that there is able to be social distancing, and so not that the public would be right on top of everyone. So our plan ultimately right now is to do that soft open, is to try to get there in the next week or two, and then have a full open as of July 6th, where our building would be open again to everybody to come back in after that. So that's the goal right now, and we're hoping that we can work with that. We had a department head meeting this morning to discuss how we can do some of this for the departments to make the people feel comfortable. We also reminded the people still that even though we have a stay-at-home policy has been rescinded, that for anyone who is still uncomfortable or is uncomfortable, that they are still able to work from home if they have to. We are very lucky so far that that's not been an issue for our workers. I want to thank everyone for what they've done, the department heads and our employees, for basically Borough Hall has been running as it was, as if it was when it was January 1st and before this, and I really do appreciate everybody for what they've done, all the work. It's been great to see how many that they've all pitched in and kind of kept going.
I did attend that meeting, and I thanked everyone, the staff, especially and Rob. And I did remind all the department heads, look, during the pandemic, when the building was closed, everybody was working from home. There were a lot of very quick decisions that needed to be made, not policy decisions, but just sort of administrative decisions. And I told them, you may have gotten out of the habit of just running to Rob to say, what do I do? But that going forward, they need to CC their liaisons, because we need your input on decision-making going forward, so that it's not just the department head or Rob making those decisions. So I did remind everyone. So you're probably going to see an increase in your emails, and we just want you to be in touch with your department heads or with your departments and with Rob, so that we can together work to really get everything back on track.
Absolutely. And listen, communication is key for everybody. If you have a question, you have a concern on something that's happening, like I said, please reach out. That's the way it's best for everyone. Numbers for COVID here in Bergen County are declining.
Okay. First of all, I forgot to say
I know what you're going to go.
There was a blaring mistake on the county. It was a typo. It said we had 500 and some odd cases. That was absolutely wrong. It was a typo. Please, no one get nervous. There are nowhere near that number. We have been standing at one number for a couple of weeks now. Now you go.
Well, what it basically was is, if you look at the town above us, it was their number, and it has been their number for weeks, okay? And so by accident, it was put in and entered as our number, on the second, yesterday. That being said, numbers are going down. For the first time, we actually saw numbers go from 18,600 in Bergen County to 18,500 and change, where we actually saw declining numbers finally coming off the rolls. It is still one of the things that they're puzzling to people, that we're seeing people getting well, but somehow we're not seeing names or numbers come off or come out of the towns, even though we know that the numbers are declining. So we're waiting to see what they're going to do to see how this goes forward in the next couple of weeks. But we do feel very, very strongly that we are in a much better situation in Bergen County, thanks to the social distancing and what we've done, and maintaining and what we're supposed to do. We continue to ask you to do the same thing, so that we can continue to see this decline, and we can get back to life, to whatever normal will be, the new normal soon. Bergen HUD agreement right now needs to be approved every 3 years. We just received this. Actually, I got today at 2:35 today. Otherwise, if we had received it earlier, I would have tried to put it on the agenda for this week, for this meeting. But we'll put it on for the next one. Basically, what this does is this allows us to help get funding for the CBDG grants, and the block grants and the ESG programs. And so in the last couple of years, for CDBG, we've had $9.2 million that had been funded from the federal government through here. We have been receiving some of those funds. Also $2.7 million in home and $769,000 in ESG funding. So this is very important for all 70 towns and boroughs in Bergen County to fill this out, sign it, and have it back. We need to have them back to them by July 16th. And knowing that our meeting in July is now going to be, is back a little further, I want to make sure that this is on for the next meeting. I've already talked to Jane about this, so that we're going to do that, because it is important. And this is a good thing for everyone, and so we're taking care of that. Remind, as the mayor has told everyone, don't forget to keep filling out the census forms. We are one of the better towns right now in Bergen County for completion, and I think that's because we have a fantastic clerk, who's an assistant clerk who are doing that and getting taking care of that, and which is just a great thing. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Rob, can I just ask one question? I'm
Sure.
sorry, to circle back in terms of the operations. I know there was just a question when the ambulance had their meeting about hiring a town electrician to wire the building.
So, from what I understood, that was we do have a town electrician, and I think that Perry, we had put out a bid for a town electrician a couple of months ago. So I'll have Perry reach out. Perry is not in tomorrow, but I'll reach out to Perry on Thursday to discuss that, to find out what's going on with that, where we are. And I think other than
Not
that,
tomorrow, you can't get an answer from Perry tomorrow.
I'll leave Perry alone.
He's taking for once a day
That's what I said, I'm
off.
gonna leave Perry. That's what I said, I'm
Let him
gonna-
rest, yeah.
I said I'm
Perry's
gonna-
been assisting everybody with everything in order to make the building safe for everyone, no matter what it is, whether it's a dispenser for hand sanitizer, cleaning the building, putting up plexiglass, everything that's been going on. He's been amazing.
I actually have two
And,
more things now to think about.
And he's got one day off tomorrow, finally.
Quick one is the curbside for library. They're talking about the end of this week that we might be able to have curbside for library. So we'll see what happens with that. That's something that they're talking about focusing on, along with our sports programs. That there was supposed to be an announcement tonight. They was telling us about for softball and baseball, how they were going to go about that. So while we're here in this meeting, there might be something to go forward that we would hear. They were actually they were expecting it last night. They didn't get it last night, so now they're saying that the governor's office today on the call said that they thought we would have it today on that. So hopefully we'll have something on that. The last thing I have is DMV. DMV right now should be opening on the 15th for some things. And then on the 29th, it's going to be opening again for people who are looking for had driver's license and driver's tests that were scheduled in March. Will go first. Then they would start the April people and go forward. But they are doing it on a limited basis. But if you have a child who is going through or had been tested or was scheduled for their road test, for either for March, April, or May, they are starting to open again, and you will start to see those dates starting the 29th of the month, not the 15th.
Which reminds me of something else, because you said DMV. We can just report information. There's so much information that comes in all week long, email, phone calls. Okay. So, voter registration. Our seniors or anyone who is coming of age that is able to vote this year normally was signed up to vote at the Division of Motor Vehicles. Since they've been closed, they have not been registered for the last few months. So if you've just turned 18 and you would like to vote in the June primary, the deadline is July 7th primary. The deadline is June 16th. Tuesday, June 16th, in order to apply for voter registration. So do we have a form on our website?
We have a form at the top of our website.
There's a form at the top of our website.
We have forms outside of Borough Hall.
There's paper forms outside of Borough Hall next to the building department.
They can put that in the slot if they want.
Can they register right with you?
They don't register, they will leave the application.
But if they leave it with you by July, if they leave the signed form with you, are they considered registered if it's to you by the 16th? Or does it have to be mailed somewhere by the 16th?
If someone drops it off by the evening of June 16th at our building, then I will be delivering them to the county the next morning.
Okay.
But
So you
when
have
the vote
until
is
June
done-
16th to drop off that paper registration to the Borough Clerk's office, because they will be delivered to the county clerk on the morning of the 17th, but you cannot drop it off on the 17th.
Correct.
They can
They
go
will
to county
already be
tuition,
gone.
right?
They can also go directly to county.
Or you can go to the county clerk.
Yes.
Jake doesn't have a microphone, so I'm just repeating, so I'm not sure.
And they can, does it pick it up?
Oh, I didn't realize, I can't see it.
Yes, and there's, the county clerk's office will be open from 9 to 9 that day.
9 to 9?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I
Did we
would
forget
recommend,
anything?
I found the mail to be very delayed, so I would say that anyone that mails it is taking a chance that it may not be received at this point by next Tuesday, so they can certainly drop it off at Borough Hall, or they can drop it off at the county too,
Okay.
but don't put it in the mail.
So mailing at this point is not recommended by our borough clerk. Dropping off here or at the county clerk is the advisable way to register to vote for the July 7th primary.
Correct.
And several people have said to me that they refuse to vote by mail. I understand that sentiment, but if you don't vote by mail, you are not going to be able to vote as of today, unless you do it by mail. If you, right?
If you, for the
You have to be
primary,
disabled in order to vote at the machines. You can't walk into work at the machines.
for the primary, the July 7th primary.
Can you talk a little bit louder, just so I
Yes,
can repeat?
for the July 7th primary, if you are a declared party member, you will receive a ballot in the mail. You will have to mail that in. If you are not, if you are unaffiliated, you will receive an application for mail-in ballot, and then that would be mailed to you. If you choose not to fill that out, or you lose it, or whatever, you can come to the single polling place that we will have open, which will be the senior center, but you will still not be able to vote
On the machine.
in a machine. You will be given a provisional ballot. If you, however, if you are handicapped, you must sign a certification that you are handicapped, and then the poll worker will have to call the county and see if you have returned a ballot yet, and if you have not, they will let you vote at the machine. But no voter that is, if a voter is not handicapped, they will not be able to vote
Right.
in a voting machine for the July primary.
Unbelievable. I understand those are the rules right now. Nothing has changed unless something changed, and if it does, we will let you know. So I'll repeat, are they getting applications or actual ballots?
If you are a declared party member,
Declared
you
party,
will
Republican or
receive the
Democrat, you get
ballot.
an actual ballot.
Correct. There will be
Okay.
no sample ballots mailed this
No
year?
sample ballots. When you get it, it is the
Correct.
actual ballot.
Ballots have already started to hit.
Yes.
And for people that choose to come in person and vote provisionally, or if they're handicapped to vote, we will have things in place for social distancing, and, everyone will have to be at least 6 feet apart. So we're going to do our best. Hope we can get some poll workers to work that day, and that's,
Okay.
that's where we are.
Look, I don't agree with it. A lot of people don't agree with it, but it's the way it's going to happen for
We'll see.
July.
We'll see, it may not happen.
Well, that's what I said. As of today, it's the way it's happening.
There's some
and
legal things going on there.
I'm sure there are.
that,
So,
You'll be hearing about.
the next item on the agenda is good and welfare. So good and welfare is something new that we've added to the agenda because we don't want our council members, if you have something that's timely that needs to be said, to have to hold it until it's either passed or for your report. So we're going to move to the good and welfare. Does any governing body member have anything to share with the public? No? No one? Okay. Then we will move right...
Danielle, I'm sorry. I mean, there was a member of the ambulance that had passed away.
Yes,
So, the ambulance did start a GoFundMe page,
yes.
on Facebook if anybody was interested to help, for that cause and donate to that for Chris.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I attended the prayer ceremony the other day, and I did appreciate the religious leaders who came to help navigate the evening for us. And that although I have no wise words to share, I do hope that we can all move on from this time to heal and to hear each other, see each other, and love each other.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nope. Then we're going to move on. The next order of business is public comment. Members of the public are welcome to speak on any topic by announcing your name and address for the record and asking for permission one at a time. In the interest of time, speakers are limited to 3 minutes, including questions and answers. In consideration of all who may wish to speak, please keep your comments brief and concise. If you would like to speak, everyone, we will get you your chance, but please state your name, and as I hear you, I will call on you one at a time. May I have a motion to open the meeting to general comments from the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We are now open to the public. Would anybody from the public like to address the governing body?
Yes.
Okay, can you state your name for the record, please, and address?
My name is Margaret Boyce.
I can't hear.
I'm the former vice chair of the Emerson Environmental Commission and the present chair of the Emerson Shade Tree Commission. My topic is about the Emerson Woods Preserve.
Okay, welcome, Margaret.
Thank you. Is my 3 minutes starting?
Yes, it is, right? It's already going.
All right. So I have been reaching out. Adam Strabel, who is the director of the Divisions of Land Management and Open Space and Recreation. We have been working towards trying to get some resolution about the Emerson Woods Preserve being protected. It's being decimated. This has been an ongoing issue for years. It's coming to the point where we need to actually have this town actually do some litigation, in my advice, because and I advised the town about this before, this is on the public record, that there's 2 websites that encourage this usage and destructive usage and then decimating the woods by Strava and Trailsport. By what I look on those websites, there's now unbelievable highest ridership that's been going on due to the COVID. So the records also showed clearly that it is Westwood Cycle Shop. Part of them are the people that are riding on this. So I don't know why this town is not starting to do some sort of level of litigation to protect it. It's part of their job. It's part of our ordinance. So it's time to stop. I appreciate the borough administrator's suggestion about trying to find developmental places where other individuals can ride and do their RTVs or ATVs or whatever. But this is something that has been just shoved to the side for far too long. And it is every day it's getting decimated. This is not a park. This is a watershed buffer, and it's a preserve. And people, other areas have spent millions of dollars for that usage to protect our water supply. So it's time for our town to step up, to do something legally, and take a look at the evidence that, sadly, when our detectives looked at it, they said it was not usable. Well, I took the same information and I presented it to my cousin, who is he is a lawyer in Canada. He has done gone to the appellate court in the United States. He is a Supreme Court lawyer in Canada. And he said the detective's statement was ridiculous. That's quote unquote what he said. He says this email evidence is absolutely usable. So it's time for us to pull our, put our big girl pants on or whatever and do something about this, truly.
Okay. Margaret, I understand your frustration. I don't have an answer for you this evening. If you were listening to the meeting, you know that we are, not we, but the administrator and Council President Hoffman are going to have a meeting with all of the entities in charge of the Emerson Woods, and perhaps he can come up with a plan that way. I believe, Council President, you said Shade Tree would be involved in that meeting?
Yeah, possibly, because, yes,
Yeah.
they could be.
So-
They have jurisdiction over.
So
the-
Margaret, I think what the first step is going to be to have a joint meeting inviting Adam Strobel from the county. I'm going to assume Lori Charkey from Bergen Swan, Environmental
Yes.
Commission, as well as Shade Tree Commission, probably Council President, the Administrator, and anyone else that we think is necessary.
Yes, I've been in
And-
communication with Adam. The last one was on the 27th, so it's time to start doing this
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Because
All right.
it's our responsibility.
All right, Margaret, the Borough Attorney has something to say, and then we're going to have to move on to the next caller.
Margaret, thank you for your comments. Unfortunately, I can't practice law in Canada any more than your cousin or a relative can practice law in the United States. But I can tell you that without direct evidence of an actual violator while violating is where the case starts. People advertising, promoting, that's evidence maybe, depending upon where the biker or the person came from. So there is no crime in promoting something, and there's no civil penalty for that. And without direct evidence or even circumstantial evidence that would support it by having someone in direct violation of the law, legally, there's very little you can do. Not many attorneys attorneys make money with litigation. And when you're talking about a public entity, conclusionary statements and declaratory statements by citizens sometimes don't match up with the facts on the ground. And I really empathize with your position and frustration. Councilman Hoffman has personalized this issue with me over the last year and a half. We've talked about it a bit. But you also just can't willy-nilly declare something when you're talking about legal matters. And I respectfully thank you for your comments. But if we have evidence that can be used and enforced, we'll do it. But there is no civil action available right now that I could ever think of that we can engage in based upon the information that we currently have. Thank you.
Okay, would anyone else?
Am I allowed to comment on that?
Margaret, I'm going to move on to see if there's any other members of the public that would like to speak. You're welcome. Would anyone else from the public like to speak or address the governing body? Any other member of the public? Okay, hearing no requests, may I have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. I just did a little quick Googling, and we are at 77.5% response rate on the census, just to go back to that. So we're doing pretty well. All right, the next item on the agenda is resolutions on consent. May I have a motion to...
Mayor, could I ask, I have a question about one of the consent items.
Sure.
CA 120-20. It says appointment of Marie Schust as secretary to the Shade Tree Commission effective immediately. I have two issues with that. Number one, it's actually the Shade Tree Commission that does the appointment. The mayor and council sets the salary, but the commission actually does the appointment. And secondly, they haven't officially appointed her yet. I expect to see that happen tomorrow night. They have it on for discussion, so that actually hasn't occurred yet.
So,
The clerk and I had a conversation on this, and so we wanted to get a recommendation from the attorney on potentially just changing the wording on it to say that instead of the appointment of Marie Schust, because if that's the Shade Tree Commission, is that basically what you're going to adopt would be the pay and the salary for them, and state that, and then basically for tomorrow allow the Shade Tree then, if whoever they do appoint at that point would just be appointed at the salary that we would be, that you are agreeing to. That was a conversation that the clerk and I had. You basically you got me before we got a chance to say what we were going to ask the attorney to do.
So what are we doing?
So we'd like to make an adjustment to that.
Since she hasn't been appointed yet, do we want to just wait and confirm her appointment, with her salary at our next meeting? Doesn't that seem like it's...
You could do it anyway, but again...
Ken, is that okay with you? I
But
think that's the easiest way to do it after the Shade Tree Commission, makes their decision,
Yeah,
because
that's fine with me. I
we
mean,
don't even know
I
how the
would-
Shade Tree's gonna vote.
I would go to John on that.
I recommend that we hold off on anything that we would say about it until the actual appointment is done by the commission.
Right. Okay, so let's remove, CA 120-20, to our next meeting agenda. Jane, please. Would anyone else like any discussion on any item before we vote?
Did you have to vote to take that out?
Can I get a motion to remove CA 120-20 from the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so CA 120, appointment of Marie Schust as secretary to the Shade Tree is removed from the consent agenda, and we'll place it on our next agenda after the Shade Tree takes action. And there's no discussion on anything else requested? If not, may I have a motion to approve consent agenda resolutions 113-20 through 121-20?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call, Ms. DJ?
Councilman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Demola? Yes. Council President Thompson?
Yes.
Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you, Ms. DJ. The next item on the agenda is closed executive session. Members of the public may remain on go-to meeting until we return to open session, at which time formal action may be taken. May I have a motion to go into a closed executive session to discuss matters exempt from the public pursuant to NJSA 10:4-1 et sec, and adequately noticed by resolution number 121-20.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Demola? Yes. Council President Thompson?
Yes.
Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Passes, Mayor. 6-0.
Thank you. Colleen, I am going to leave the meeting, and then I will rejoin when we come out of closed session.
Okay. Conference will now be recorded.
May I have a motion to reconvene?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. With no more business to discuss, may I have a motion to adjourn at 9:34 p.m.?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We're closed.